Hey everybody, and welcome to episode 64 of the Discussion 5. That's right, we are here to talk the 5 most pressing matters for your Detroit Red Wings, and boy oh boy do we have some pressing matters today. We're not super happy, but you know what, Mike? We have to endure. We have to press on. We had the absolute worst result for the NHL Draft Lottery, and we're going to talk about all that, all my conspiracy theories, who's going to have a great season next year with or potential for Alexis LaFreniere, and like I promised last week, we put the top NHL prospects through a state-of-the-art simulation, and we're going to talk about it right here on the Discussion 5. Nobody else has access to this specific simulation. Only 2 people in the world have access to it, and you're looking at him. Mike's got to get wasted to get through this. Now, we talked about the Hockey Podcast Network at the top of the show. We do hope you check them out at thehockeypodcastnetwork.com and at hockeypodnet. But if you could check out everything else for the Brothers of Discussion, we are at bodpodcast.com and brothersofdiscussion.com. If you need, you know what? I can't do that one because I can't do the other ad. That's for the Brothers of Discussion show. If you want to hear all the Brothers of Discussion ads, go to bodpodcast.com and brothersofdiscussion.com to check out all of our old episodes.
Tune in for the ads.
Yeah,
like it's the Super Bowl. That's what I'm talking about.
It's Apple Podcasts where you can find all those episodes at, and we do have a YouTube channel that covers both the Detroit Red Wings podcast that you're listening to now, that you can go check out our beautiful faces as we talk about it, and while I adjust my camera, how appropriate. We're also on IGTV, where we like to post some vids and some memes, also joint between pro wrestling and the Detroit Red Wings podcast. Check it all out, though. The hub is bodpodcast.com and brothersofdiscussion.com. All right, so we are, let's see. No, I'm too excited.
Yeah.
Let's start talking about this, Mike. First of all, What is the news? The Red Wings land that 4th pick. We're not breaking news here. We're all pretty pissed about it. We're all pretty angry. I'm hoping that people are tuning in because they want to hear what is the Brothers of Discussion new conspiracy theory against the Detroit Red Wings. Mike, just a short month and a half ago, we were celebrating because we thought we were getting a 50% shot at the 1st pick. And the NHL bitched and moaned, and apparently the solution to the worst team, arguably one of the worst teams in NHL history, getting a shot, a major shot.
I will say organized sports.
Yeah.
This was the bad news bears of professional sports. That's what this was.
So, yeah.
No, I didn't want to steal your thunder, but yeah, we had a shot at, we're missing games in this season. Let's just give the worst 2 teams, we'll flip a coin, see who gets 1 and 2 between us and Ottawa. Instead, we did this convoluted process with multiple drafts was proposed, and everybody signed off on it. Sounds good. Yeah. And now a playoff team, a team that gets to play NHL games. There's 7 teams that don't get to even come back until next season. They were automatically in this lottery, and a team that gets to play hockey. A team that has almost a 70% win percentage can now win that number 1 pick. I'm looking at Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I mean, let's. I put this in the wrong order because we can run through this list right now. The Canadiens, the Chicago Blackhawks, Arizona Coyotes, Minnesota Wild, the Vancouver Canucks, the Predators, Panthers, Flames, Rangers, Jets, Islanders, Blue Jackets, the Maple Leafs, the Hurricanes, the Oilers, and the Penguins. All right, Mike, this is almost a who's who of every goddamn fucking team I hate in this stupid league. The only thing that would make this worse is if it was like, they were like, well, everybody and Boston. So it's like, these are all of our qualifying teams. what the NHL would quickly turn around and state, including Bill Daly, would be they're not actually playoff teams, Mike. They're qualifying playoff teams, or they're in the qualifying round. But essentially, this is, for the first time, a team that is in a new, like, past the regular season, because they've said the regular season is done. You got to put in your votes for MVP and whatnot. So what does that mean? Is this like purgatory? But, you know, a team that's either made it to the playoffs or purgatory has a shot at both the Stanley Cup and getting Alexis LaFreniere. Mike, where I was going with my momentum was taking me towards this journey of, you have the worst team, and as we are probably going to agree, in pro sports history, one of the worst teams that we've had the honor of watching for, thankfully, not 82 games. We won out there. One of the worst teams we've ever seen in pro sports.
Yeah.
Getting a shot at that first pick. And after the entire NHL complained about that plan, where even the sports media was like, I guess that makes sense. They are one of the worst teams ever. Maybe throw them a bone. Now, the solution, Mike, was to give a playoff team the first pick. So instead, I don't fucking get it. I don't know if it's like they're being thrown a bone because they have to go back to work. They have to put their players at risk. And I don't know how you justify this decision to give a team a shot at the cup. Somebody right now could, if we were doing this live and they were typing up questions and like a little Q&A thing, or just sending us a message, you're going to say, no, Matt, they're not a playoff team. Oh my God, go fuck yourself. They're totally a playoff team. If the regular season's over and they're going to play a round of 5 games against another team to move on to round 1 of the Stanley Cup Finals, they're a playoff team.
It's just like the setup is, I don't think that there's anger, obviously, that, you know, the Red Wings, you know, don't get some sort of compensation for just having a toilet roster. You should be able to rebuild up, you know, let these garbage teams kind of rebuild, right?
Yeah.
But it's very important to notate that it's not just that the Red Wings dropped; it's also teams like Ottawa dropping. So it's not like if Ottawa had won and we picked like second or third, you know, I'd be kind of bummed we don't get Lafreniere, but I'd be like, well, you know. You shouldn't just tank and then automatically get the first pick. So I can kind of get on board with some sort of lottery, but it should be a toilet team that's not even coming back. You know, like the 7th worst team should be, you know, winning the first pick or the second pick. It shouldn't just be. I shouldn't have the potential to see Pittsburgh add Lafreniere to, you know, already a pretty excellent roster. That's the problem.
Absolutely. It shouldn't be we're going to be 3 picks behind one of these playoff teams. This just scream, like, if they're going to do some bullshit like this, there has to be like some, I know this is going to get more complicated than, you know, the problem is that this NHL draft lottery is too complicated, but it had to be something like, if one of these playoff teams won, then that's all right. Then we're just going to seed everybody, you know, 2 through 8 after that. Like, give us the second pick. We end up with the 4th pick so that a fucking playoff team can get the first pick. Now, Mike, let's jump into the conspiracy theories. And I love that you mentioned, you know, the Kings are number 2. This is something, like, take note that they're not just the Kings. They're the Los Angeles Kings, one of the babies, one of the wonderful children that the NHL has created. And they've always tried to make sure that they're taken care of, having Gretzky go over there. And now one of the top prospect lists in the league is potentially going to add Quinton Byfield or Tim Stutzel. You know, adding to that just means the Kings just went from you know, 2 years out to 1 year out, I think, from being a legitimate playoff contender. The poor Senators had, almost, I know maybe it was like a 25% chance when all their percentages were added together, maybe a 30% chance to land that first pick, because you're basically combining their second and third pick that they took from the San Jose Sharks to get that number 1, and they're going number 3 and number 5. Like, even though like you said, you'd be bummed if the Senators got that first pick. I can't imagine how fucking pissed that you'd be if you were a Senators fan right now heading into this. But to continue the conversation, where does the conspiracy theory lie? Well, Mike, for the first time ever, the NHL is without content. And they keep talking about we need to generate content for the media and for the fans. And they create a phase 2 for the draft lottery. And how great would it be if we didn't even have to worry about phase 2? If Red Wings got number 1, Ottawa gets number 2, maybe they take number 3, or the Kings get number 3, whatever. That happens. We don't have to worry about phase 2. The NHL loses out on its content, but everything's fine and dandy. Instead, Mike, where the NHL is starved for content, not only is it's not the second pick, it's not the third pick. This is a franchise-changing talent. Has no idea what team he's going to. And now the NHL gets to talk, including now and heading into the qualifying round for that team that loses the first 2 games in their qualifying round matchup. Do they just blow that third game and get a shot at Alexis? This screams to me bullshit. And like you were asking before, like, do we get to see the balls drop? No. Do we get to see any sort of process in this lottery draft? No. We just see fucking Bill Daly holding a stack of cards and oh, look at that. NHL's some unnamed team is number 1. He shows it off to the TV. Oh my God. It's to me, the conspiracy theory is that number 1, they have way too much control in this. There's nothing that we get to see and they could just tell us all day. They could laugh in my face. No, of course there's a lottery. What proof do we have that there is one? And number 2, they took the time to make this phase 2 of the draft lottery, which, what the fuck is that? Like, what sports league is thinking, we got to get the draft lottery out of the way so that we can start the NHL season?
Yeah,
wait a minute, huh? Like, the logistics make no sense.
To kind of, like, compare and contrast, the NBA, we were just hammering a point that we just made a few moments ago. But last year, the last draft, New Orleans somehow moved up, I think 10 spots, to get Zion Williamson, who is like a LeBron James level prospect. So like this year, I think it's a big deal. And by the way, obviously they weren't a playoff team like in the NHL, but it's a big deal this year because this isn't a year where we're looking at top pick prospect Nail Yakupov for Edmonton, who was so bad that Edmonton got another first pick, another, just a year later for McDavid. This is a consensus, like everybody's drooling over this guy.
Right.
This is an upper echelon prospect. So
that we've been talking about for 2 years.
Yeah. He's such a young guy. He's already so productive. It's just it would be a statistical just jaw-dropping shock to see this guy not pan out for whoever gets him. This is a crippling loss. For teams like Ottawa and Detroit, who, as they try to move forward, is there going to be an opportunity for them to get somebody good at their third, fourth, and fifth spots? Yeah, it is. If you go back the last 10 years, even this year that I'm going to pick on poor Nail Yakupov, who never really amounted to anything, he still outperformed Griffin Reinhart at number 4 with his 0.4 point share. So even in a poopy draft year, you're always going to see one outdo number 4 because you have to really stink. It's really tough to fuck up the first pick.
Well, it's
a consensus to see how strong this guy is, and then they usually meet those expectations.
And to just further that point, so here's what's going on in my conspiracy theory. Here's to sum it all up. The NHL is looking for that content, but they've also just created this clusterfuck of a media storm where this first pick gets to be talked about on ESPN, on TSN. You know, obviously the major Canadian sports networks are going to be talking about this forever, but you're building up this super duper star right now. And he doesn't have to go to one of the shithole teams. He's going to be in the playoffs probably next season. You know what I mean? Like, this is a guy that's not going to have to wait around with the Red Wings or, you know, be one of Edmonton's many first picks and just, you know, hopefully Connor McDavid pans out because this is fucking bullshit. Like he's going to get to go to a team that probably is like, where I talked about the Red Wings for years, like, yeah, it's great that we draft so-and-so or whatnot, but we need that super duper franchise changing player. And all these teams, you know, not that the Penguins are looking for one, but they're probably excited to possibly transition into their next super duper star. But I mean, same thing with the Blackhawks. The Canadians have always been like right there. You talk about the Carolina Hurricanes. If they picked up Alexis Lafreniere, that's the kind of thing that they the way that their team's built, it's almost like they stay away from that because they're always they're a team that's built around like at a Moneyball level way of building a hockey team. So the Hurricanes, like that would be their answer. Like that's how they take that step into Stanley Cup contendership for years. So I just like, of course, the NHL, if you ask me, would they rather that Alexis Lafreniere, one of the best talents to come out, you know, through the juniors and join into the NHL, one of the best talents that has been, I don't know, what do you want to say? Like the prospectus on this guy, that he's that high level of talent. Do you want him to go to the Red Wings? Where even in our discussions, we said we draft Lafreniere. That just means our 5-year like timetable gets brought to a 3-year timetable. Do we really want to wait 3 years for Lafreniere to hit the playoffs? Or do we send Lafreniere over to Edmonton? Do we send him to Toronto? You know, even Columbus, that would be... I'd feel pretty good for Columbus, to be completely honest, because they seem to always get screwed.
All I'm doing is rooting for those small to mid-market teams.
Right.
Honestly, there's so many nightmare scenarios where, you know, the Canadians... I know we kind of have a little soft spot in our heart for them. You know, we're those original 6 teams, and they're kind of snobby with their French. But I don't want them to get it. My blood would just boil to see Chicago get it. Pittsburgh. I don't want the Oilers to get another number one.
Yeah.
I think Toronto, as much as they, like, we're gonna hold up Mitch Marner as one of the great number 4 picks of all time. No, I don't want Toronto to get it. They have enough. Give me my Predators. Give me Minnesota. Yeah. Give me the Islanders, who as we keep doing our mock drafts, our redrafts of the past. Just make them relevant again. Carolina would be a dream come true for me because nobody would know how to market the Carolina Hurricanes. I'm not even sure the people of Carolina are aware there's still a hockey team that hasn't blown away into the ocean.
You know what's funny? I still, like, I would pick... All those teams you mentioned are on my list. Number 1 for me is Carolina. I think number 2 would be Nashville.
To see number 1 go to New York and number 2 go to Los Angeles. Oh, the body heat just radiating off me from all that boiling blood, that hot boiling sacrificial blood. It's just, I don't know if my organs will be able to take it, man.
Well, I still have this weird thought where I'm like, I still don't want Arizona to get it because Lafreniere would just toil away and disappear after a few years. Like, that's where players go to die.
The ice isn't even sustainable out there. It's kind of stupid.
All right. Well, Mike, here's what we did. I ran, and I knew this all when I bought NHL 20. I said the only reason I want this is to start a franchise and play 5 years into the future so I can see where all these prospects are going to land. So through a state-of-the-art simulation, Mike, state-of-the-art, just like when Jerry was selling Hungry for Apples, we are going to tell you who the Red Wings should draft. Now, I'm not just going to go based off the draft that occurred in 2020 in my video game. Number one,
there's a scientific process to this. Right.
I can't figure out how to pull that draft, so I'm just going through the players that the Red Wings will have a shot at, including we're going to go over the 3 players that'll probably go 1, 2, and 3. And
before you do that,
yeah.
Have you seen the news stories that some of the European players that we're counting on to be these top prospects this year? It might get a little tricky drafting them because of when they sign their contracts, and that they might not be eligible for the NHL entry draft, and they might just stay in Europe and play for money.
I did see that. That was actually that was something Yzerman even talked about in his press conference. Because well, it's so funny to hear like the Athletic ask questions to Steve Yzerman, and they're really engaging. And this is the Athletic is a company that focuses on like hockey first, and then I think is it Art Regner?
That's a name. Yeah,
he's the local Detroit guy who does radio. When we were growing up, he was on The Fan. So I mean, when I say we were growing up, that means like 15 years ago, us listening to the radio. He jumps in and he's just like, "Hey, Steve, so you've got all you're pretty much done. You know who you're going to draft it for, right? Depending on how everybody else gets drafted." And Steve's like, "Well, no, there's a lot going on this fall, including where players are going to be going somewhere else. That includes injuries. That includes guys that maybe take a step down because of all this, and maybe we want to look for a guy that takes a huge step up this fall." And it's just, I bring that up for 2 reasons. One, to talk about what you just brought up. 2, to talk about, goddamn, is Detroit sports talk just the absolute fucking worst? And this guy, Art coming in, and I think what he does too is I think he might do like web shows for the Detroit Red Wings, but just goes to show like hang out with the Athletic and those boys. They're actually asking informed questions. Yeah, I mean, there's so much that's gonna go on. Starting, I don't know. I mean, it's probably gonna start affecting where guys are gonna be drafted in September. So, are they gonna be available? Are they gonna get hurt? Are they gonna show strides of moving forward? Back? Are they making choices during these periods that don't reflect what your team wants to represent? There's so many variables that could still figure in. I think the only guy who's safe is the number 1 pick, and we have no idea who's going to be drafting him. But yeah, I it's crazy to me how much is still going to affect this draft. But I feel like I went far enough out in who is a potential draft pick for the Detroit Red Wings here that we have enough to go off of. Like, even if 2 of these guys drop off. God damn you. All right, let's get that one out of the way. So, Askarov is not in the game. For whatever reason, I
think it's because he was, 16 or 17? Basically,
it could be, but I just picked up Shane Wright in the game, or I drafted him, so he's projected to be a top draft pick in a couple years. So I just picked him up, or I shouldn't say because now I'm 3 years out from drafting him. But anyway, so there are like really young guys that figure into the Chell game. Like, they go pretty deep into these junior leagues. It's insane to me what they do. So Askarov should have been in there. I don't know why he's not in my game, but I had no information on him. All I can tell you is that I do have like goalie prospects that were drafted in that area, but we're not going to touch it because, number 1, we don't want to, this state-of-the-art simulation, there can be, some mistakes in regards to building up somebody's attributes and their former stats and how that's going to build out into who that player is going to be. Number 2, I don't want a fucking goaltender at my number 4 pick. We're not doing that. It didn't work out. Tell me how great Carey Price was. Oh, he really worked out. How many fucking cups did the goddamn Canadians get out of drafting Carey Price? Exactly. We're not. I don't care if he's Carey Price level. If you could guarantee me that, then we're paying way too much for a goaltender in 5 years. So fuck it. No, I don't. We're not drafting a good goal. I don't want a goaltender in the first round. I don't want it. It just causes too many problems. Too many problems. That's it. That's my.
That's it.
All right. So
Yeah,
state of the art simulation.
I was just gonna say we've done enough of these redrafts where it turns out that usually in the top 4 or 5 of a season, a goalie is up there, Matt. So it's tough to. I know it's tough to justify taking a goalie up that high because of the success rate, but Red Wings don't really have a goalie right now. That doesn't factor in it. Like it doesn't. We don't really have one in the pipeline. I don't think Picard is going anywhere except maybe the USS Enterprise. I don't think that he's really going to be playing for the Red Wings. I don't. It doesn't seem like we have a blueprint for a future goalie at this point. It smells like a season where we're going to be signing some journeymen again to take over for Howard.
Hey, I mean, when people look at what Bernier did with one of the worst 6 defensemen in the league, like that collection of 6 defensemen was statistically worst in the league, and Bernier still comes out like. That's where, when we first called out, like, Bernier should be getting, Vezina and Hart Trophy votes. Finally, at the end of the season, like, even though it was a joke, like, even The Athletic caught on to that and started writing their articles about how Bernier should get MVP consideration. Because he really did turn in such a great season. So I don't see a problem with hanging on to Bernier and seeing how this pans out. Because goalie's a major hole for the Red Wings. It's kind of a hole that gets filled when you look around the NHL by a flip of a coin. So you sign Bobrovsky to an 8-year, $10 million deal, and then he turns in a sub 900 save percentage on your season. Nobody can convince me to spend money on a goaltender, especially when the Red Wings have so many goddamn holes. So many. Remember when Roberto Luongo beat the Boston Bruins to win the Stanley Cup? Neither do I. It doesn't work. I'm sorry. He's a swell guy. Roberto Luongo appears to be one of the sweethearts. I know he's retired now, but, I don't mean to be mean to him, but it just doesn't work out. I mean, it's funny for me to mention that, too, because then turn around the Bruins actually had Tim Thomas and Tuukka Rask and net, but it wasn't something where you're going, I'm spending my top draft pick on I'm focusing my team on my goaltending. I think we all could look at the Boston Bruins and go, all right, they built other parts of that team first. All right. I've gone on too many rants about how little I want to draft a goaltender in the first round. I've already seen it mentioned too, Mike, that people want to trade back. Like, let's get another second round pick, and then we'll pick up Askarov. I just don't. It's such a roll of the dice. Are you really gonna say that we have potentially a second or third line forward in what we can draft here at number 4? Like, legit. If we could get lucky and have a first line forward, but legitimately we have second or third line forward here, that we cross that off the list and we're good. We're done. We have, boom, a guy that we can count on to score when we're when we're building this team. He's not Connor McDavid level, but we can count on our second or third line not to embarrass us. Like, that can get just crossed off. Or we pick up a goaltender, and 1 year he's great, and then the next year he's got an 800 save percentage. Oh, but then he's got a 930, and he's getting Vezina votes. But then he's just barely scratching 900 the year after that. It just doesn't make sense. Don't know, poo-poo, nah. Not going to do it.
That, yeah, I think you're right in not necessarily, making it all costs to keep getting more second round picks, if only because I want to almost pose the challenge. Who's your favorite second round pick of all time? It's not really a deep well of like a who's who of wow, I can't believe we got that guy. He's waited all the way to the second.
I think I can say Gustav Nyquist.
I was gonna go with that little guy from Carolina, Sebastian. Is it Aho?
Yeah.
Yeah. He was a second rounder. He got a free agent contract once. I remember that.
Yeah, he was almost our first restricted free agent to move through. Yeah, but it didn't pan out. So Carolina was like, all right, we'll give you money. All right, so here's what's going on, just to give everybody an idea, Mike. So the first 3 picks, I'm pretty sure, are going to involve some order of LaFreniere, Quentin Byfield, and Tim Stutzel. LaFreniere, Mike, who in my game just happened to be drafted by the Detroit Red Wings. Who knows how many first-round picks I traded to make sure I could get LaFreniere. In the video game, they list players as like elite. You can be like top 6 forward, top 2 defenseman kind of thing. You can also be a franchise player. There are 3 franchise players listed: Connor McDavid, Sidney Crosby, and Alexis Lafreniere in my game.
Wow.
Yep. 3 franchise players.
I can't wait for Pittsburgh to have 2 of those.
So, Mike, at this point, 5 years later, he's got a 93 overall, 504 points.
Hold up. Ovechkin's not a part of that?
No, he's not. He's elite.
What does he have to do?
Yeah, that's where I'm like, holy fuck, there's only 3 elite guys, or franchise guys.
Wow.
So 504 points, 354 games. I mean, based on this simulation where I may have played a lot of Lafreniere's games and we won a couple Hart trophies and 4 Stanley Cups together. He's game changer for whatever team he shows up to. Now, Quentin Byfield, this is where the simulation gets a little more accurate, because I didn't touch any of these players. Everybody else we're going to talk about. Quentin Byfield, 83 overall, 33 points in 123 games played. Tim Stutzel, Mike, 80 overall. He just got called up to the NHL in 2025. So 0 games played. I know what we're doing, all right? Don't get too angry at what we're saying, because a lot of people, like, there's Twitter accounts that are like, trade up for Stutzel, and they have Stutzel wearing a Red Wings jersey. Like, people are really high on Stutzel.
Real quick, I just wanted to share something that really made me mad.
Yeah.
Somebody was grumbling about Lafreniere, going to a playoff team, and then who the Red Wings were going to pick. And the person said, "I'm so mad that we're not getting the number 1 pick. We had a rough season. We should have had the first pick." And then somebody said, "Where are we picking?" And the person who is the point of authority on this post said, "We're picking 4th. I'm just hoping Quentin Byfield drops to us."
So,
maybe.
I like what you're saying there, because there's so much to dissect from that. Do we really want, like, if something happens with Quentin Byfield where number 2 and number 3 say, I don't think he's got it, and then we're like, okay, we'll take him. Like, is that really how this works? Is that like?
It's almost that awful movie. Did you ever watch Draft Day?
Yeah.
When there's that quarterback who's supposed to go number 1, then they're like, nobody went to his birthday party. Like, nobody went to Quentin Byfield's birthday party, so he drops all the way to the Red Wings, first pick in the second round. Like, what? No, it's not going to happen. If it's that bad,
right?
He has some terminal disease or something that he's got 3 months. Like, they replaced his heart with a baked potato. It's not going to happen. He's going second.
We've done in our draft reviews and the redrafts, like, we have scouting department losers. Are we really gonna say that 3 different scouting departments were like, man, he's right there, but I gotta go Lucas Raymond.
We could really use a goalie.
All right. So the thing is, why Stutzel seems to match so well is where he's coming from. So we can get a match with last year's. Oh my God.
Oh, Mo Sider. Yeah.
Yeah. Jesus Christ.
There's a lot of names out there. There's a lot of stuff.
So that's where that comes in. But, and again, in our state-of-the-art simulation, no games played up till 2025. Now, here's who I want to get. Lucas Raymond. If you go back to our old episodes with the Discussion 5, I talked with Shane from the Ottawa Senators podcast, and I picked Lucas Raymond. I really like the idea of us picking up a winger. I really fell in love with LaFreniere. A lot of people say, no, we need a center, and that's why when we thought we were going to get the first pick, it's like, maybe we should think about Quentin Byfield, blah, 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 blah. I do like the thoughts that...
I know he's a generational talent at wing, but imagine this. We'd have a first-line center in Larkin and a second-line center in Byfield.
Woo! Now,
yeah, Larkin could play with Lafreniere, and we could have the greatest power play of all time, but we could also have a first and second-line center. I think this idea writes itself.
You know what? I don't poo-poo that argument, but I do like... I read somebody this morning that said, why don't we try and see if Rasmussen or Joe Veleno can fill that second-line center role before we start going, all right, let's put one of them in the fourth line. It's like, should we test out the older draft picks before we go, we don't have a center at all?
You don't use the draft at the top 5 picks to fill out your roster.
To fill out their second line.
You don't use it to fill out your fucking roster. You pick the very best player, and then you adjust your team accordingly. That's what you do across all sports.
We're making our way to the best player, but it's not Lucas Raymond, according to Chell 20. He's right now in 2025. He's got an 83 overall, 101 points in 272 games. I should mention he was the 7th overall pick in the video game, and he played his first full season, Mike, in 2021.
Honestly, Matt, outside of even a sport like the NFL, right, where you're getting you already have a quarterback and you're drafting in the top 5, I could still see the argument where you draft another quarterback just to hold them hostage for other teams who need quarterbacks, and then you can get their draft capital. Like, that's how much I think that you just get the very best player. It does not, you don't, well, God. We already have 2 good wings. Do we really need 3 or 4 or 5? Last I checked, you get 8 fucking wings. So, yes, get another one. It doesn't matter.
All right, now we've got Alexander Holtz. He was the 6th pick, so taken ahead of Lukey Raymond here. 104 points in 204 games. He's an 84 overall. His first full season, and I think this is huge. Like, when we talk about first full season, like, remember, Tim Stutzel has not played a single NHL game, according to Chell 20. Lucas Raymond played the very next year. Alexander Holtz, 2023. So they really held on. His overall is better than Lucas Raymond. So apparently keeping him down in the minors helped him out. But here is the big name, Mike, is it's been bandied about quite a bit right now. It's one of those where the Red Wings are taking a chance and dropping like 2 or 3 picks to pick up a guy that, like, where he's projected to go. In the video game, in Chell 20, he goes at the 8th pick. It's Cole Perfetti, who is an 86 overall. And when you look at this list here, that is the highest overall after Lafreniere. He's got 173 points in 287 games. His first full season, 2021, went the next season. All right, and then Marco Rossi seems to be the guy that everybody has fallen in love with. He's doing well points-wise in the juniors. It's one of those things where some team or like some scouts have him at like, they have him going as far back as like 19th that we just saw. It was posted by The Athletic. And then The Athletic, of course, has him going in like the top 7. So Marco Rossi, 83 overall, 49 points in 126 games. His first season he played in was 2022. And then there's Jamie Drysdale. He's the defenseman that seems to be on everybody's mind. And it's, can we lock up a first line or get 2 guys for our top 4 for our defensemen and pick up Jamie Drysdale? He, Mike, went 22nd in the video game. Has yet to play a game of hockey, of NHL hockey, in Chell 20. And he's a 79 overall. So, what I promised you, everybody, is a state-of-the-art simulation. Oh, and I like that you threw in Jake Sanderson. I kind of like that idea. If there is like if Eichmann's really gonna play this game and like trade back and try and lock up some giant defensemen, but I will say, Mike, as we go through this and this list that I created here, state of the art simulation says you go Colt Perfetti because we're not getting LaFreniere.
Is there any scenario, just because there's nobody's going to trade up? Right? Nobody's going to let the Red Wings trade up. Okay. But is there any scenario where we can bundle some second-round picks to maybe add a first, just because it looks like this is a healthy enough, list of second-tier guys after, kind of those top 2 and 3?
I mean,
would any team be mad enough to do that? This is at least this looks like a pretty, I don't know if it's going to be the, 87 draft or 87, the 2005 draft, but is there, it looks like there's about 10 prospects that you would not be too upset about after those first couple guys. Would anybody be crazy enough to trade with the Red Wings so we get 2 of these top 10 guys?
I don't know. This really seems like for all of these teams, like this is your shot, like to pull in again. Like you get lucky. This is a first line guy. You get not super lucky, but these guys. I mean, to say that they're going to be in your middle 6 of your forward lineup, or as we talk about Drysdale. I mean, a pretty good shot at a top 4 defenseman, which is every. If you want to talk about just shoring up your team, but also the number one thing on everybody's mind, it seems like once trade deadline comes around, is I need a top 4 defenseman. So at some point, this is going to have some value for your team to have a Jamie Drysdale. I'm not saying let's draft him and immediately trade him. I'm just saying there's a lot of value in any of these guys. You get in those middle 6 or a top 4 defenseman. There's so much here. Like if I was making those decisions, I'm getting something pretty juicy, or I don't see enough talent in this extended list of prospects that I don't see enough that the rest of the NHL, the media, you and I who are eating it all up, like as we see it and we're learning about it, we go, wow, this really is super deep of a draft. Like for you to be the one NHL team that goes, I don't see it. I don't see what's going on here. That's pretty much what you have to luck into, I think, because or you have so much confidence in the second round and how deep this draft can go. Which again, you and I, we're not watching juniors. We get all of our information pretty much like how the listeners are getting their information. So I think you gotta from us, we're giving you our opinion on everybody's professional takes, right?
Well, with Yzerman, he definitely set a pretty crazy standard. Taking Mo Seider, and everybody's throwing their arms up. What are you doing taking him? And it looks like he was right. So honestly, I could see if Stützle drops because people are kind of scared of him, signing in Europe. I could see him being a Red Wing. I could honestly see over Jamie Drysdale. I could see Jake Sanderson just because it looks like Steve's prioritizing defensemen with some size. And Matt, I added him to your list because Yzerman set this crazy precedent that because we don't have anybody in the pipeline, because it looks like we're going to be multiple years away, that if you're going to roll the dice on who's got, maybe the best ceiling, do you go with the 17-year-old Yaroslav Askarov? I could honestly see any of those 3 guys over something more sensible like Perfetti or Holtz.
I would point out, I mean, I think there's always this idea that you've got to write some goaltender into to the top 20 that people can be interested in or talk about. I wouldn't mind if he really fell back if we traded up to land him, if we saw an opportunity to pick up Askarov. I really do think if we're going to go Jake Sanderson, that's something that we can fall back and maybe pick up another second rounder and let somebody else grab one of these,
more touted prospects.
Yeah. I don't know if I mean, that's the route you have to go. With the way Yzerman's talking, I feel like he does see this as an opportunity to cross one of these empty spots off the list. I mean, Tyler Bertuzzi, good job, man. You did good on that first line. But to say instead of Tyler Bertuzzi, we have a guy like Lucas Raymond playing with Larkin, and I mean, all right. So what we've got a first line that could potentially be. We don't even need to draft anybody. Is Larkin, Zadina, and Mantha. But maybe we want to spread that out a little bit. Maybe one of those guys doesn't pan out. Maybe one of those guys, Mike, gets traded. Oh my gosh.
Could happen.
Huh?
Oh, I just said could happen.
Yeah. So like, I still feel like there's. So all right. So to answer your question, I would absolutely move. If we're gonna go with Sanderson, you move back. If there's Askarov late in the first round, I would trade up because we do have some draft picks, moving back into the draft that we can move around and maybe, ask somebody to let us throw us a bone. Have a couple of second rounders, but I would do it. I just don't. That's Askarov going pretty deep for me. I think part of the story here, too, with Askarov is you don't want to tell him that you were a top 10 draft pick and then he has a good season and then it's time to pay up and he turns around and goes, you ain't got shit, so you're either signing me or you just wasted your 2020 draft pick. Like, I get that's the situation with everybody, but I'm more okay with doing that with a forward or a defenseman than I am with a goaltender. And we're from the Detroit Red Wings. We won Stanley Cups with fucking Osgood, so
hey, he's a Hall of Famer. All right, I don't know what you're talking.
Sure.
He is a Michigan Sports Hall of Famer.
That's true.
Yeah.
Now, how does that Michigan Sports Hall of Fame work? Do you have to actually be from? I'm just kidding.
You need a name and a face.
All right, Mike. We've been talking for quite a while. I think what everybody's hoping for is that we're going to mention how tight and close and cut our pubes are. Thanks to Manscaped and the Lawnmower 3.0. Mike, I think I've got my Manscaped undies going right now. I do.
Oh, those are like my favorite underwear. They're so comfy.
Can you see? They're right there.
There we go.
Woo! Now I got a wedgie.
Nice. Thanks, man.
Mike, I'm wearing those things because they're comfortable as hell. I swear, everything I've gotten from Manscaped, if it's the ball deodorant, if it's these undies, even that t-shirt they gave, nice and cool, great to work out in. But of course, it's the Lawnmower 3.0 that we can't stop talking about. It's keeping us high and tight. It's keeping us nice and dry, especially in these, it's going to be almost 90 all week. Mid-80s here in the Detroit metro area.
I think I almost turned into Woody Allen on that one. Jeez. It's going to be 108. All right, go ahead, man.
Well, Mike, we've talked about it for weeks now. It's got 90 minutes of charge. You've got the LED light to light up those darker areas down below. You've got the 7,000 RPM motor for quiet stroke technology.
And, you don't want to get caught stroking.
Right. Anything that's too loud in that area just gets you in trouble. You've got that beautiful charging stand so you can show off who's cutting your pubis. But if you want to cut your pubes the way your brothers of discussion are, you can use promo code THPN at manscaped.com. Get 20% off your first order and free shipping. Right now, what else do we have to do but cut our pubes in these dark, dark times? I hope you're wearing your masks. But also, cut your pubes nice and close so that when you're hanging out at home, you know what? It's something for you to do, but you're just going to be doing everybody else a favor because I know the showers seem to disappear day after day when you sit at home. So let's make sure you don't have stinky pubes down there. Cut them close, cut them short, using promo code THPN at manscaped.com. And that promo code is going to get you 20% off and free shipping. Get that Lawnmower 3.0 sent to your home. Can't recommend it enough. Enjoy your Lawnmower 3.0. All right, everybody. Let us we're gonna move a little bit slower here for a second because normally we're jumping into our redrafts of a particular NHL draft, and man, oh man, is it gonna be fun to focus on the fourth pick of all of these drafts going forward. that we do to try and figure out, is it possible for the Detroit Red Wings to pick up one of these franchise players that NHL 20 doesn't seem to be handing out to, I don't know, willingly? What's the best word there? But, Mike, we've got a lot of information here, and we're almost at an hour. So I'm going to say, why don't we talk about, do you want to talk the Yzerman track record or number 4 picks going back to 2010?
Well, man, it is something. If we're at an hour, we could punt till the next episode.
Let's punt it all to the next episode.
So, yeah, I mean, I just wanted to look at not necessarily Yzerman's entire track record, like pick to pick, because then we get to cheat and say, Kucherov, I choose you.
Right.
I wanted to actually look at his first round picks and kind of see how he's fared. And then kind of go and also take a look at, some of the, recent number 4 picks, how they've panned out. I think there's a couple highlights, but obviously we're going to find that number 1 picks fare a lot better than number 4 picks. But it's not a wildly hopeless endeavor because there are some opportunities. But we can kind of go into who's who in our next episode.
Yeah, quick preview. I mean, Mike, I would not say no to Cale Makar, Mitch Marner, Ryan Johansson, or Seth Jones. And just to kind of give you a preview of who we're going to be talking about, I wrote this note. I really wanted to say it, but I guess I'll save my favorite note for Seth Jones for the next episode. So you got to tune in for that analysis. But essentially, I'm excited to talk about it because it's going to give us all some more hope. I think we're all right now pretty stoked on the Yzer plan because of how well Moritz Seider's turning out. And I don't know. Yeah, we're going to sail off into the sunset, but I got a lot of anger off my chest. I got a lot of it out when our Twitter account @BOD Hockey, which I failed to mention at the top of the show, finally blew up. All we had to do was get fucked over by the NHL, and lo and behold, the Brothers of Discussion.
Those rage tweets really sell like hotcakes, let me tell you.
The what? Oh,
rage tweets. Yeah.
I gave all the credit to Mr. Bean. he's universal. It is funny. Like I feel like the Brothers of Discussion for both pro wrestling and hockey, we definitely have like a tone. I don't know if it works for Detroit Red Wings fans, but once we got to like a national perspective and we could tweet about that, then it was like, oh, these guys are pretty fucking funny. So I was pretty proud of that. I think I do think we're a little more pessimistic than some of the other podcasts, but it's all in good fun. And next week we're definitely going to tell you, we're going to bring our perspective into a more fun atmosphere with saying, all right, there's some good number 4 picks here.
Yeah.
So,
and I mean, this is a show where we've done redrafts, and we had the Datsuk diamond in the rough. So right. Hopefully Yzerman can, mine some diamonds out of the 2020 draft here.
All right, Mike. I'm gonna go. I don't know. I was gonna make a poop joke, but I can't quite put it together right now.
Ooh,
I gotta take a dump.
I'm probably going on a cookie run.
Oh, fun! Detroit Cookie Company.
Yeah.
Nice. All right, I would say where I'm going, but I'd have to say the city that I live in, and I'm not too proud to talk about that. So,
getting real. All right, let's go off into the sunset.
It's Howell. All right.
Damn it.
Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Good one. Hi everybody, this is Matt Klink of the Brothers of Discussion, reminding you that you can find the Brothers of Discussion at bodpodcast.com, brothersofdiscussion.com. Find us on Twitter at bodpodcast, and of course we are bringing you content every Thursday, if not during every Monday Night Raw, every NXT show, every AEW Dynamite, every SmackDown, every pay-per-view, every major show happening in the United States. The Brothers of Discussion are covering it, so if you want good wrestling coverage, come to the Brothers of Discussion. Thanks, everybody.